Welcome back to Frontline Eurosports Online. Your host Nate Jennings is going to be delivering a 2017 BMW S1000R in that amazing Catalina gray to our main man, Luke. Woo! Luke, are you excited today?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So we're going to start at the front, work around the bottom of this motorcycle, and we're going to get into handlebars and controls and finish out with our instrumentation. First thing we give every customer is a tire safety warning. Ride like you're riding in the rain for the first 50 to 100 miles as you're acclimating to your new motorcycle, as well as the silicone coating on there that help pop out of mold and preserve shelf life. We have our beautiful HP wheels on this motorcycle, which is going to give us that fantastic 90-degree valve stem. No excuses not to check your tire pressure and be right on. It's easily accessible now. Attached to the wheel, we've got our rotors. We're going to have our twin disc rotors with a cross drill floating assembly with radial mounted Brembo calipers. Third leg is steel braided brake lines, and there's going to be an additional lead on the left side that's going to give you your speed sensor pickup. That's working your new ABS Pro ABS and your traction control. Our suspension is a hydraulic damping system that is now designated as the DDC, Dynamic Dampening Controlled Suspension. We can manually control our preload in the front, but our damping value is electronically monitored and attenuating force as we ride the motorcycle, being a dynamic system. Our power plant is an inline 4-cylinder that is water cooled, fuel injected, and chain driven. We have our radiator up front, oil cooler down below that. That's one of the first things I like to add is a black trim to that, or a grille cover to give us a little darker aesthetic to the front, as well as protecting our asset. Our inline 4-cylinder has an easy oil fill location up top side of the clutch pack right here. We have our water pump and water cooling lines distributed up to our oil cooler and water coil. The exhaust system, we go with a factory Acropovic HP design. It's got the carbon tips and accents to it, creating a more lovely tone out of your S1000R. We're going to have our foot peg assembly, which has a brake pedal with a master cylinder hidden behind the heel guard. We're going to have one rubber hose that's going to go to our overflow cup, which is giving us our fluid level and fluid clarity for the rear brake system, and a steel braided line that's going up to our ABS module and redispersing the braking power back to the rear wheel. Now our beautiful swing arm, which is where we'll have a rear axle to do chain adjustments, being a changeover motorcycle, and our correlating rear HP wheel. So then we're going to go up into the fun stuff. We've got our tire hugger here. This is what? Our piece of plastic is going to go soon. This is our tail mud guard right here, which holds our license plate with illumination, and our clear turn signals with amber bulbs to keep us 50 state compliant. Our LED brake light assembly with its distinctive 2 points right here, leading us to our seat. Our seat has a lock cylinder located easily to find at the top. There's no more searching around for your lock cylinder. It's right there. We pull the seat back, accessibility to a few tools, our tool bay, and where we put your Virginia State inspection before you leave our facility. We'll slide that puppy back into place. Take our key from this lock cylinder to our fuel filler to our ignition. One key for those 3 easily to find areas. We have pillion pegs. They have 2 bolts on the side, real easy to pull off for those track days that we offer our customers that you're going to attend. We have collapsible foot pegs just to keep it out of our way if we do need them riding around town. In front of that's our chain. Our chain is white right now, heavily lubricated in lithium grease. That's to help from corrosion happening while it's being shipped from overseas and transported over from Germany. Above that's a ride height sensor that's going to be working our braking system and assisting our suspension. We have our correlating peg and our shift pedal. The new shift pedal is like the 3rd Gen RR. We have the ability to go from conventional to a GP shift with the new Gear Shift Assist Pro, my favorite new piece of the R. Not only the increase in horsepower and design, but the Gear Shift Assist Pro. So he's going to have the ability to go clutchlessly up and clutchlessly down through the gears. We need the throttle open or opening to go smoothly up to the gears, and close and zeroed out 100% to go down through the gears. Pum, 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 and you're going to love it. Then we go to our clutch actuation rod, as we have a cable actuated clutch. You can see the movement of the clutch arm as I'm pulling in your clutch lever there. And our sight glass is at the very bottom, located below that. So you can see our sight glass here for oil check on the S1000R. It's all the nice little embellishments they add to it. The redesigned graphics, the nice little R located on the side cover right here. Let's get into the fun, the meat potatoes of the S1000R. So if you want to, you can mount your motorcycle as we go through this. ride-by-wire throttle. No more push and pull cables. It's now a rheostat in this housing that's going to give you direct information to the ECU of what to do with the throttle. We have our run cycle and start integrated into one switch. Mode, heated grips, an adjustable brake lever, which leads us to our front master cylinder overflow, fluid level, and fluid clarity check. Coming across is our ignition for on-off, as well as our steering column lock. On the left-hand side, clutch cable with a quick adjust for our clutch cable tension. We have our high beam, which if you want to put your left hand on that and give it a little pull back, that's your intermittent flash. Behind it and pushing forward, boom, constant high beam. This is our cruise control that we can simply slide over to activate, set, resume, incremental or constant increase, incremental or constant decrease of speed, hazard lights, trip and information buttons, ABS, traction control, DDC settings, turn signals, and our horn down at the bottom. So we've went through most of all of the components on the handlebars and controls. We're going to turn the key on for the first time. Let's do it, Luke. So as we see her come to life, while that is queuing up, I'm going to give you two safety switches, a side stand safety switch. We have the side stand down right now, so if we started this motorcycle, put it into gear, it's instantly going to click off, just like any other motorcycle should do for your safety. We also have a clutch safety switch. Even though it's not mandatory to pull the clutch in to start the motorcycle. Starting on the right-hand side, I'm going to make sure our cycle switch is on, so everything's going to function properly for us. We have our mode selection. You can hit that for us, Luke, and go through those options. We have Dynamic Pro, so tap again. Rain, tap again. Road, tap again. Dynamic. I would cycle us back down to road to start. So you have to do it once to activate and then cycle to what you want. Now, if you did this going down the road, which you can do on the fly, you need to select where you want to be, pull in the clutch, zero at the throttle, let it coast, takes about 3 seconds, boom, and it's into the next mode selection that you desire to be in. Above that's our heated grip, so we'll give that a little tap and look at the top of our screen. Now it's 2 buttons up top side that's showing that we're in a nuclear level. Tap it again. We're going to low level heat and tap again. Disappears means we have turned our heated grips off. On this side, we're going to be able to see certain things like where our turn signals are located, left and right, pushing in for cancelization. We're going to have our high beam down at the bottom. We have a neutral light down at the bottom. And next to that, we're going to have our low fuel light, which will come on. So not only do we have a fuel measuring gauge, but we have a low fuel light that'll come on for our fuel injection system. ABS and traction control. I'll get over the 2 lights that are flashing at us because that's a big deal. People are wondering why there's flashing lights on my brand new motorcycle. That's for your safety. The machine is not communicated with the wheels because we have not started it and moved it to let it control the fact that I have communication between the wheels and the computers. They will disappear and go away. If I want to turn my traction control off, it only takes a 1-second burst on this button here, 1001, boom, Wheelie Central. We can take and do what we want with the motorcycle. 1 more second, I've turned it back off. Turning ABS is a more constant hold. We'll cycle through there, and now our ABS is off, traction control is on, and it's just selecting both off and both back on. So the next thing we'll go into is going into the instrumentation itself. We've seen our modes, we've seen our speedometer, our big white face tachometer with the S1000R embellishment in there. Gear, obviously that's our gear indicator. Down at the bottom, our timepiece, our odometer, and our temperature. So to cycle through this, we're going to hit the trip button first. Trip from odometer, then goes to range on tank. Trip 1, trip 2, our average miles per gallon, and our average miles per hour. They're going to correct themselves with time as we go over 16 miles an hour is our average speed, but that's all we've done in your motorcycle in the preliminary testing, and cycle back to our odometer. Information, this is where we're getting to some fun stuff. We're getting to some lap time, then we're getting to race info and setup menu. We'll go into race information first. That's going to have our best ever lap, it's going to have our best lap, our last lap, our race total, our information for deleting laps, our best ever delete, and getting out of race information. I'll let you go more thoroughly through that yourself if you want to do that when we get to the track, but I would suggest getting a transponder with a pickup instead of trying to look down, use triggers. Do it more precisely and accurately for yourself. Here's the setup menu I promised you next. We hold this lower button, it'll take us into setup equipment. Let's do setup equipment. this is where mostly personal preference is coming into effect. Timepiece. Oops, I actually just went out. Timepiece. Brightness of the screen. You can change the brightness of the screen. My lamp on or off. This is for letting the system know that I disconnected my bulbs to go onto the track. We have RPM on. Right now we have it set at 7,000 RPMs. Your shift light here will come on saying you're about 1,500 RPMs away from hitting your break-in maximum of 8,500 RPMs. So we have the shift light coming on at 7,000 for you. Then cuts off 13.5 where the red line comes off of the page anyway. And we can modulate and play with those if you wanted to. You can hold it. Say, for some reason I want my bike shift light to come off when I hit red line. Just continue to modulate through until you get to 95.9 back to 13.5. Do a constant hold of that to set that into motion, and we continue on. Next, we're on our shift light, our brightness of the shift light. We can turn that up or down to a value of 20 up to 100, and we have frequency. 4, 8 are constantly on. The shift light can be a slow 4 Hertz. Constantly on, or that attention getting 8 Hertz for you. Boom! I'm letting you know what's going on. I see it in my peripherals very easily. Luke, what is your personal preference for a shift light? Slow?
I think the fast looks good.
Yeah, me too. That's what I go with. So we're going to leave it at 8 Hertz for you by holding the information button to solidify that that's where we want to be. So we'll hold on the exit button and get out of that menu selection. We'll go and set up equipment. And set up racetrack. Again, now we're looking at lap timers. If it holds on your screen for a second, it's the best lap in progress is your BLIP. There's the trigger, the pit limit. So you have the pit limit if you're not in a race situation on this motorcycle, but it does have a pit limit, and I can go into how that works for you with holding the starter button down and choosing and selecting an RPM that you want it to hold at so you can stay at certain pit speeds. We have just exiting the racetrack menu. A lot of this stuff, honestly, being a breed from the R, you won't be necessarily using unless you're really trying to lap yourself to work or something to that extent, which people do. And we exit out of this menu, and we need to get back to our DDC. And Mark, here's your question. We have DDC. You went through those menus, you didn't see any, but we're going to hit our button for DDC with a single helmet and in dynamic mode. That one button activates it for me. Then I can do a constant hold and go from 2 up riding, from single up riding, constant hold back to single. That's something that needs to be done statically and neutral. Just stop and let the bike change. But we can change dynamic to road for our damping values on the fly. That's just one tap of the button. Tap to activate, tap to go to dynamic, and it'll switch itself over for you. So to get back to our main menu, I just usually go to the trip after it gets out of the ESA menu. And it takes you back to your main screen with your odometer, timepiece, gear indicator, fuel, mode selection, and speed. And that is your 2017 BMW S1000R in a nutshell, Luke. Congratulations, and do you have any questions for us at this point in time?
I don't.
If you ever do, we have a Rondell keychain with our information on the back side, so you know how to get a hold of us. And all of you know how to get a hold of us here at Frontline Eurosports Online via our information you'll find at the end of this video. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining us with this new Catalano Gray 17 S1000R with Luke and Nate from Frontline Eurosports.